Welcome, friends, to today's episode of The Lindsay Elmore Show. First up, I will be interviewing Pili Yarusi. We originally intended to talk about women and money and how she still struggles to talk about money, even though she is running a huge real estate portfolio with her husband. But Pili is also just extraordinarily inspirational to me. And so we talk about life. We talk about how important it is to set goals and to knock them out and be motivated enough to do it. And after I talk with Pili, I share with you 5 steps for becoming an entrepreneur, because each and every one of you deserves to have the business of your dreams. Welcome to The Lindsay Elmore Show, a podcast that helps you find fulfillment amidst chaos. On this show, I interview thought leaders, doctors, creatives, spiritual gurus, and game changers who inspire you to pursue your dreams, overcome obstacles, and leave your mark. Pili Yarusi and her husband Jason are active real estate syndicators and real estate investors. In 2016, they founded Yarusi Holdings, a multifamily investment firm, and they are general partners on over 800 units with 450 units under management. The firm repositions properties through operational efficiencies, moderate to extensive renovations, and complete and total rebranding. They are also the hosts of the Jason and Pili Project, a podcast to serve those looking to live a fit and rich and fulfilled life. Jason and Pili are founders of the New Jersey Multifamily Foundation Club with more than 2,200 members that focuses on real estate syndication and multifamily investing. Now, with all of this experience in real estate and creating wealth and managing multi-millions of dollars worth of investment, you would think that Pili would be pretty good at talking about money. But in this podcast, we talk about how even when you are a business owner, when you are in a situation where you have to talk about money and numbers, it can be a little bit scary. Pili Yarusi, welcome to the Lindsay Elmore Show.
So honored to be here. Thank you so much, Lindsay.
I'm so excited to talk today about a topic that I think makes a lot of women very squeamish, which is talking about money. So I love your money plant back behind you. And you and your husband work together in real estate. And real estate is one of those really undervalued ways to create wealth and to empower women to live their own financially free lives. So what got you into real estate in the first place?
So I got pregnant.
Okay.
there's more to the story than that. So in 2013, I decided to stop bartending, and Jason and I decided to jump into the construction company that his family owns. So we moved from New York to New Jersey, where I subsequently got pregnant. And I decided I didn't want to go back to the restaurant industry. Yeah. I had been managing and running restaurants for many years, and there was no way I was going to raise a child in the city and run bars and restaurants. Wasn't going to happen. So we dived into his family's construction company, and we got talking about real estate. It's not the first time I had that real estate conversation before, but it never seemed like something I'd ever want to do. But having the construction company just made everything different. And we needed a plan for this family that we were going to raise. We didn't have the backing of the restaurant industry anymore. We did have the construction company, but we wanted to take it to another level. Jason, I have this mindset of taking things to another level. So while we were improving the construction company, I got my real estate license, and that's how we dove in. I got my real estate license. We got our first property under contract back in 2014, and we started flipping properties at that point.
Yeah. So you started with your first property,
Mhm.
and I'm sure it was a financial risk to get started. I mean, so tell us, how did you decide on, okay, this is worth the risk. We're going to get into it. And did you ultimately make a profit on that first property, or did you mess up all along the way? How did your first flip go?
So funny enough, we actually did make a profit. We've actually never not made a profit, but what we were doing, and all the flippers that are listening to this right now are going to cringe. This property took us over a year to flip, like about 9 months to a year. It was because of the way we were flipping homes, and this was a brilliant idea. So my husband's family's company raises homes. So this was right after Hurricane Sandy. There was a ton of homes down in the Jersey Shore that needed to be raised, and there was a ton of homeowners that just wanted out, and we had found one of them. So we bought this flood zone property, and we knew exactly what to do with it. It just took so long to get the permits and to get everything together, and we didn't have the systems in place to really dive in and do the business properly. So instead of, when you talk to a lot of flippers, they'll talk about getting like a lipstick on the pig properties, like a property that's very stable, that all they have to do is go and put in paint and carpet and done, put it back on market. Nuh-uh. We did everything. We raised the house, we rebuilt the house, we added a basement garage, a first floor, and then we used the original first floor and made it into basically the third floor, because you had the basement garage, you had the first floor, and then you had the second floor on top of that. And of course, that was really risky, but we had our construction business, and we used the financing and the backing of the construction business to help us grow our flipping business. So it was a great place to grow into it. And this was back in 2014, but I don't remember the actual numbers, but having that property actually make profit really, really attuned me into the fact that this could be a business. And I didn't know about systems, and we had just started to learn about running numbers on flip properties. And I was getting into the residential part of being a real estate agent. And there were so many things happening, and I was pregnant during the whole thing. So any ladies,
Just
this
to
is
make it
especially for you.
easier on yourself, just to make it a little bit easier.
I was also pregnant while we were doing this entire process. So if there's one thing I want to impart from those beginning months and years, is that any of the ladies that are listening to this, you can do it. Whether or not you're pregnant, you can do it. You can jump in, have some backing, get some support, whether it's from your significant other. If you don't have a significant other, find other women in this industry that are doing it. I started digging into masterminds. I got into this amazing mastermind full of men and women who just supported me in my efforts. After the birth of my first child, I didn't realize it. And as a medical professional, Lindsay, you're probably going to cringe. I got depressed. I had postpartum, but I didn't know.
Yeah.
The doctor would give me that sheet to fill out, and I would fill out all the positives, because I didn't want to think negatively. I was like, okay, I'm going to think positive, and I'm going to check all the things I want the doctor to hear. But I was on a downward spiral, and it was the mastermind that I jumped into that really up-leveled my life and really started to get me to talk about numbers and financing and really like improving my life and not being afraid of success and being rich.
Right.
And I'm doing air quotes. If anybody that's actually listening to this, I'm doing air quotes right now, because rich doesn't only mean with money.
Absolutely. It doesn't just mean with money. In fact, one of my favorite questions that I can't remember if I got asked it on a podcast or if I heard somebody ask it in a presentation, but they said, "What is success to you?" Because success is different for every single person. And yeah, it's nice to have money and to not have to worry and to be able to pursue passion projects. All of that is wonderful. But there's also that idea of, what is success to me? Is that time? Is that travel? Is that being able to flip houses? Like, what is that success to you? And so I want to hear more about the mastermind that you went through. And the way that you opened yourself up to talking about money, because women don't. We're not trained to talk about money. Men will show up at the table and pretend that they know everything that's going on. And really and truly, women, we need people around us to mentor us and to tell us, hey, you're throwing away your money in taxes because you're not doing this right. And so how did you overcome your own internal battles that allow you now to more freely talk about money? Even though when I told you that was what we were talking about today, you kind of cringed and were like, I know we need to talk about it, but do we have to? Do we have to?
It's true. It's true. I did that. And as soon as Lindsay started talking and she was like, we're going to talk about money. And this is where topic. All I heard was money. And I was just like, oh no. Like all of a sudden the old me jumped into my head and it was like, Pili, you can't talk about that. That's taboo. You can't talk about money. You don't know anything about money. You don't. And I still have to like almost physically remove her from the room. That woman that is me, that tells me that I can't. So this mastermind that I joined, and my husband is actually, he graduated with a finance degree. He's done all sorts of different businesses. We've created different businesses together. And so between him and this mastermind that I joined, I created a different mindset for myself, a mindset. And I don't know everything about finances. I mean, I'm going to be the first one to tell you and be honest. I don't. You want to talk to me about numbers, about financing, about anything with numbers. I'm like, can I just open up my spreadsheets? I'll just give you this, my spreadsheets, my analyzers. Here's everything that I use. Have at it.
Yes.
And then we'll talk about it.
Oh my gosh. I was filling out an application for some additional media coverage insurance, and they wanted a breakdown of every single penny that I had made in the last year, and for me to like quantify it in percentages. And I was like, I'll do that later. I just don't even want to look at it. I know. What do you think it stems from? This inability for women to talk about money?
I think it's just the way we grow up, and it's not even because it spans like different generations. It spans different cultures. So I could say that it was my culture, it was my upbringing, it was my own mom, it was yada, yada, yada. But that's not true, because my father was very fiscally conservative, and he taught me different ways to make sure that I stayed financially sound. And one of those ways was just not to, basically, don't spend money. Buy things outright, and don't run up credit cards. So, but in my mind, I was like, okay, I'll never have a credit card. So in my 20s, I didn't have any credit. I had no debt, but I had no credit.
Right.
And I bought things outright. So I didn't own a house. I didn't own a car. Well, I did own a car, but it was like a secondhand piece of whatever that barely ran. And it was a struggle back then to really allow myself to, I guess, put things on credit. I didn't have a credit card until probably my 30s. So the fact that women in general don't really like talking about money, and I don't like to generalize things. There's a lot of women out there that are financial geniuses. And if you're watching this, I applaud you, and I apologize for mishing you into this like women's group. But a lot of us don't like to talk about money. And it's just something that I just did not like talking about until fairly recently, and even now. So honestly, I actually don't know the answer to that. Why? Yeah, I don't know. I don't
I don't
know.
either. I don't either. And
I don't know.
I think part of it is that our parents weren't taught by their parents
Yes.
how to handle money. You know, I mean, I remember like the extent of the financial advice that I got growing up was stay out of credit card debt, which
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do quite as effectively as you did. But I remember back in college, I had gotten into credit card debt that now seems like nothing. You know, it's like I pay that every couple of weeks on a credit card.
Yes.
But back then, when you absolutely have no money when you're in college, I remember I had credit card debt of something along the lines of $2,000. And that to me was this exorbitant sum of money. And I made a commitment to myself. I will pay this off. And I remember I was working at a roly-poly sandwich shop and I got paid every single Thursday. And on Wednesday night, I would pay as much as I could. I would be down to like 50 cents in my checking
Mm-hmm.
account. But you know what? We were getting out of credit card debt. And it's another thing too, like everybody talks about buy things outright, buy things outright. Well, I just bought a brand new car. First brand new car I've ever had in my whole life. And I go in and they're like, they're talking financial terms. And they say, well, we have 0% interest for the life of the loan. And then they're like, would you like to make a down payment? And I was like, why would I do that? I might as well just borrow your money and leave my money sitting in my savings account and in my IRAs and all those things and accrue the interest. And so even that is not great advice, just to buy things outright.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
No, because that goes exactly off of what I was taught. It was like, you see a car, you just buy it. But exactly what you just said, like, we're not taught that, okay, if somebody offers you 0% interest on a car for whatever loan term, jump on it. And because then you can make that money can still work for you over here, even if it's just sitting in your bank account accruing whatever measly amount. You're still making money on your money.
yeah.
If you give them the money, you don't have the money anymore.
Yeah, I
Just
know. They
those
said they
small
have people that
things.
come in every single day and they're like, we're doing 0% interest for the life of the loan. And they're like, no, I'll just pay for it. And it's like, that doesn't
Yeah,
make any sense.
makes sense.
Yeah. So
No, no.
what have been some other financial lessons that you have learned over the years that differ from the advice that you were given growing up?
Oh, geez. Getting into real estate, it's not something that I had thought of in my 20s. I mean, I talked to some of these, I don't want to say kids, but these younger than me people who are getting into real estate in their some late teens into their 20s. And I'm just like, how do you have that mindset now that I did not? Because real estate to me was, okay, one day I'm going to buy a house, I'm going to live in it, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't something that I ever thought I was going to get into. I didn't realize that that was something that you could make money from. That's not something that you're taught in high school. So that's one huge thing. And to go back to what we were talking about, that mastermind that I had joined, that mastermind actually helped Jason and I to up level what we were doing in real estate. So I was joining this mastermind. I started going to REI meetings, real estate meetings, and I met this gentleman who was doing turnkey real estate, which basically means he finds the properties, you basically finance the properties, and all of a sudden you have a rental. Like they'll take care of everything. You just give them money to take care of the rentals and you make money. It's basically mailbox money. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I will finance everything. I will buy the house. You will do the construction. I'll finance that. You will handle the property management. I will finance that. And then you give me a discount. You can take whatever money you want, but give me a discount because I'm financing everything outright. And he was like, fine. So Jason and I ended up buying 2 duplexes. And that opened us up to this huge world of multifamily, which is what Jason and I do now. And I was really happy with those 2 duplexes, and I thought we were going to scale that. But one day Jason comes to me and he's like, well, if we can do these 2 duplexes, wouldn't it make sense if we did 50 unit, 100 unit, 500 units? And all of a sudden my mind went like, boom. Because I'm also, my mindset, again, that other girl who tells me I can't over here, she was just like, no, what? You're talking in the millions. That doesn't make sense. Millions of dollars? Why would anybody give you millions of dollars to buy these buildings? Why? And I was just like, yeah, no, I believe you. I don't think we can do it. But the thing is, you can. And I'm just a girl born and raised in Hawaii, sunshine and dancing hula. There's more to it than that. One day I'll tell you. But I didn't think that I could actually own or have partial ownership in an apartment complex. Again, getting over the mindset. It's getting over this like negative money mindset that keeps you from doing these things. Really, it's opening a book and learning, talking to people, getting into masterminds and learning these things, learning about money, learning that you can do it. One of the key coaches in that flipping, it was actually 7-figure flipping. As soon as Jason and I decided to go straight into multifamily real estate, we had to say goodbye to 7-figure flipping. But one of the coaches there, Andy McFarlane, he was like, Pili, I give you permission. I give you permission to succeed. I give it to you. So if anybody that's listening right now, if you need permission, guess what? I give it to you. I give you the permission. Lindsay gives you the permission to succeed. I give you the permission to open that book and learn how to succeed. I give you permission to continuously listen to Lindsay. I love listening to her.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
And everybody's got to go listen to Pili's podcast as well. It is so uplifting and inspiring. And you guys crank out how many episodes a week? I get so impressed. I'm like, she got another podcast? Like, loud. This lady must sit in front of that microphone all day, every day.
Well, we have a live show every weekday, which is Jason and I. That's we call it our date night in the afternoon, where we just kind of like say what's on our mind. We usually have a topic. We call it second cup of coffee when we talk like we're on our second cup of coffee. And then we have almost daily podcasts. And it's because Jason and I just tape and we love talking with people. Sometimes it's just us, sometimes it's just me, just him, but we just love talking to people and learning from people. What they don't tell you when you first get into podcasting, like when we first got in, I wanted to give all the value to people. I wanted to make sure that they could hear and discover exactly what Jason and I had discovered. What you don't learn is you learn so much from the people that you get to talk to on the podcast. Yes, you learn so much. I've probably learned more from discussing topics and getting to know people. I've made best friends because of this podcast. And I mean, I think that's why we pump out so many podcasts and so much content, is because we love just talking to these people. That's how I get most of my education, is from talking to people, especially with everything that's happening right now. The podcast has been like sort of my reach out to people. Like I get to hug you.
Yes, that little virtual hug going on.
Yes.
I think that the best podcasters out there and the best shows out there have a deep desire to learn and teach. Yes. I know that was for me, one of the reasons that I started a podcast was because I wanted to interview people and to learn from people who I knew were a part of my vision for the world that I want to live in, yes. And I want to be surrounded by people who do hard things. That could be the other secondary topic of our show today, because, you're the master of doing hard thing. So you just finished doing some crazy 75 hard. And you mentioned it. I got into this mastermind. I read this book. I started doing these things. Okay, so tell us about this 75 hard. I want to maybe do this myself. Should I do it? Do you think I should?
I think you should do it. The great thing is it's hard. It's a program put together by Andy Frisella. MFCO project episode 290. Go listen to it. Don't listen to it with your children. This is for all you mamas and papas out there. Make sure your children are in another room because he does swear. There's a little bit of profanity, a little bit of naughty words. So this program it's set for, okay, so the first thing that you see is you have to do 2 45-minute workouts.
A day?
One of them needs to be outside. A day. 2 45-minute workouts a day.
For 75
so
days?
So that's the first, for 75 days.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So you see how you could quickly up level your physicality just by doing, because you hear that, you're just like, I can't do that. I can't fit that into my life. Again, the I can't person that's sitting next to you saying, no, you can't do this. Yes, you can. Because if I can do, like little Hawaii girl can do this in the middle of the winter, yes, you can. So 2 45-minute workouts. You first see that, and all of it, like 50% of the people that look at this program are just like, oh no, not doing that. Okay, so 2 45-minute workouts, one outside. You have to follow a diet, any diet. Doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's good for you, follow it. What Jason and I did was intermittent fasting, which has been a game changer. We're thinking about taking that a step further, but that's a whole nother discussion. So diet, 1 gallon of water, 10 minutes of reading a day. You have to take a progress pic. And another of the rules I didn't tell you when we talked about this before is there will be no cheat meals and no alcohol during the entire 75 days. I just saw your face drop.
I mean, I just did 32 days with no alcohol, and I thought I was doing good. And now I'm like, not good enough, friend. Not good enough.
Well, see, that's the thing. That's why he chose 75 days. Most of us do like 30-day cleanses, 40 days, which is like the longest cleanse I'd ever done. But taking it to 75 days, no alcohol, talk about making these things into habits. Mm-hmm. Like all of a sudden, all these amazing things become a habit. And then you take this into the entire year, into phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, which have different rules. So, but once you get into phase 3, which is something that Jason and I just completed, this is my favorite parts of phase 3, which I thought was going to be the hardest, but they ended up being key to how I'm stepping forward into the future. So 75 hard, yes, it gave me my pre-pregnancy, not even, I don't think you ever get your pre-pregnancy body back, but it got me healthy again. It got me to a body that I can move in, that I feel good in. Yeah. And I know how to take care of it now. But it also gave me the mental fortitude to know that I can talk about money. I can do this. I can put out a daily podcast. I can do all the things that that the old Pili would have said, no, you can't. It has also helped me. So there's 2 other rules that you have to follow. There's a multitude of other rules, but there's 2 that I found were key. You have to do 1. So in the last phase, there's 75 hard, phase 1, and then phase 2, and then phase 3. So phase 3 happens 30 days before basically the year anniversary of starting the whole thing. So in those 30 days, every day you have to do 1 random act of kindness, and you have to talk to 1 stranger. So can you imagine having to talk to 1 stranger during COVID?
Yeah, that would be very challenging.
I thought it was going to be 2.
But
it was the easiest thing to do ever.
Really?
On my runs, I would just say hi and wave at everyone. And there would always be 1 person, and you could feel it. There would be 1 person that would stop or do that oh, you want to talk? Because I'd like to talk to you more. Yeah. And I would stop and I would actually talk to them. Yeah. And sometimes we talk about gardening. One guy told me, I stood there for a half an hour while he talked about how his dog had just passed away. Aww. And I feel like you help these people by just giving giving them your time, giving them your ears, just these talking with strangers. And it was the kind of like doing that second random act of kindness. And then my first random act of kindness, I usually would just take a trash bag with me to the park and I just pick up trash.
Yeah.
And that has opened me up. I mean, you'll hear me talk a lot about Aloha. And this has caused me to really dig into my culture and the meaning of Aloha and how I'm going to step forward into the future by using my culture and living within my culture and showing and sharing and spreading the Aloha to everyone that I touch and feel and see.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love the idea of just going out of your way to just say hi to people.
Mm-hmm.
You never know how that could
Smile.
transform somebody's entire life.
Yes.
Those are a lot of roles, and I'm going to think about it. I'm going to think about it. But I'm a little scared. I'm not going to lie. I'm totally, totally not going to. I mean, I'm like, I thought I was doing good, doing my 100 days of gratitude. And now you're like, yeah, you can do more than that. So, okay, let's get back to where we started. And
Okay.
I
Funny?
want us, I know, where did we start and how did we get here? But who cares? I would love to know, how do you think that financial health, wellness, how does home ownership, all of that, how does that craft a more healthy person? You know, I think financial health is a critical piece of overall health. And I've heard a lot of people that are in real estate talk about how they think that home ownership is one of those undervalued ways that you can be healthier. And it's also one of the only ways that you can truly become wealthier over time. So, how does financial fitness, in your opinion, tie into overall health and well-being?
So think about the word, I can't even get it out of my mouth, debt. There's so many, just if we just think about America, there's so many Americans in debt right now. I mean, in serious debt, and it's dragging them down. So how does that debt, I mean, just think about what that feels like, being thousands upon thousands, hundreds of thousands sometimes, all this money that you owe to this fantastical credit card company, student loans, whatever. And a lot of these people don't have the financial well-being right now to get themselves out. So there's bad debt, and that's bad debt, and sometimes there's good debt. So your good debt would be, for me, would be home ownership, would be getting into real estate, would be the debt that I have on the buildings that I own, would be the debt on my house, because I know I have the financial wherewithal to take care of these things. So you asked about home ownership, like owning your home. So owning a home, if you can do it, it's systematized. Mm-hmm. You're given when you owe your monthly payments. You're given all these things. So you find out, have a good banker and talk to them. I'm not a CPA. I'm not a banker. I can't give you any of that advice. But when you sit down, they'll let you know what you can own, if you can own a home. And but you have to take that first step. If you had asked me about home ownership in my 20s, I would have been like, I can't afford that. Yeah. Even in my early 30s, I would have been like, I don't know. I don't want to talk to a banker. I would close my ears because I didn't want to know what my financial situation looked like. I already knew I didn't have good enough debt or good enough credit, but it's not something that I dug into until like 33, 35, as soon as I realized, okay, I'm going to have kids. I have kids. I have to make sure I'm financially stable. I want to make sure that they have the right conversations about money when they grow up. So I have to open myself up to these things. Yeah. So have those conversations that are hard go to a CPA that you might know. And you must, like, we all have friends that are either bankers or CPAs or know somebody or have a cousin. Find something that you can trust, that you can be like, here, this is what my finances look like. Can you help me?
I
Look
know,
for help.
even hearing you say that makes me so nervous, because I think about, I've been to the banks and they tell me, like, you can afford this ridiculously expensive house. And I'm like, yeah, but why would I do that? Like, why do I need, they're like, you can easily get $1 million loan. And I'm like, I don't want $1 million loan. And I am, and I also think about, I've accrued money over the course of years, but like the thought of like, okay, and now I'm just going to write you a check for $100,000 is like, it's like shocking to even think about that. But yet it can be one of those things that over time creates so much stability and so much ease, and it solidifies that Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like, I got a roof over my head, I am doing pretty good in this world,
Yes.
And so I think that I know that either when the lease runs out on this house, or we just couldn't find anything that we loved and wanted to buy too, which I think, is that just me? Is that me telling myself, no, you're just more comfortable being in a rental? Or, do you think people just need to get into that first home so they get into the second home? Or do you really need to love where you are when you first get your home ownership?
I think you need to love where you are. I don't think there's anything wrong with renting. Uh, I don't think there's anything wrong with owning a home. There's other people out there. Like if you talk to Grant Cardone, he's like, rent, 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 rent. Don't, home ownership sucks. And you talk to somebody else and they're going to say something different. You talk to somebody else, they're going to say something different. You
Yeah.
do what's comfortable. If you find a house, this beautiful house, and you walk into it and it's a rental, but it's something that speaks to you, then go live in it by all means. But the thing is, regardless if you own it or rent it, know your finances. So if you own the home, you're putting the money towards actually ownership. You're going to own an asset.
Yeah.
If you're renting the home, you are paying somebody to manage that home for you, the upkeep. You're paying someone else's mortgage.
Yeah.
So they're going to reap the benefits. But the thing is, as you're renting, you're still reaping the benefits of the house. So it's a catch-22 kind of. On one hand, yes, but if you don't find anything that you love, why would you force the subject? Why would you force it?
Yeah.
Now, if you simply need a roof over your head and you really want to get into home ownership and you find a house that is good for now, like say you just got married, you and your husband just got married, you're not going to have kids for a few years, and you find this great condo where you wanted a house, but this condo or townhouse serves your purpose and it's something that you can afford. So you did bring up a subject I want to touch on. Make sure you trust the bankers and the finance people that you're talking to. That's why I said find a friend who either knows these things or knows people who knows these things and they're trustworthy. Because there are some people out there that will be like, you can afford $1 billion or you can afford a certain amount. So it's all about finding those people who will be fiduciary, who will take care of you, who will financially make sure that you're sound. So make sure it depends on where you are in life. For you, Lindsay, I would say if you're renting and you love the house and it makes you happy, like it makes you like giddy and happy and it sounds like you want to buy it.
Yeah.
Stay there as long as you can. Then maybe the perfect house will show up, or maybe you'll convince the owners Owners, if you're listening, sell the house to Lindsay.
Yes, I know, right? I know. Just like, let me have the house, friend. Come on, it's a thing. You already have another house. So,
Yes.
oh, I love this topic of just saying, listen, craft your perfect future. And how important is that? Be that in real estate, be that in home ownership, be that in doing a program like 75 Hard, be that in working with a spouse, which I'm sure has its ups and its downs and its plateaus and all of the things.
That's another podcast.
That's a whole nother podcast, friends. So, and I do encourage everyone, go and check out the Jason and Pili Project. You can go and listen to my episode of our interview that we did, which I absolutely loved. And you can also check out Pili and find out more about her and her family at yarusiholdings.com. That's YARUSI Holdings with an S on the end.com. So Pili, before I let you go, you ready for some lightning round questions?
Yes, please. Let's do it.
What is your number one strength?
My number one strength is my aloha and love.
No, I love that. I love that. You do create love everywhere you go. I've seen it firsthand, friends. What is the thing that you struggle with the most? I struggle
with, first thing that comes to my head is myself.
Oh.
Getting out of my own head. Because sometimes, and I know this happens to us all, and sometimes that other side of me is just like, Pili, you can't. And I have to remind myself, I have to put on my red lipstick. I have to show up and be like, nope. I give you a big hug, other self, but you got to go out of the room. I got to talk to Lindsay.
Yeah. Like, you can come on this trip, but you ain't going to be the person driving the bus. It's not a thing.
No.
If you could give advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Listen to your gut.
Yes.
Listen to your gut more.
All of the time. What keeps you up at night?
My kids.
I know, right? I know. Kids and cats are the most common answer to this question, by the way.
I actually had like this whole, like, this psychological, logical answer, but really it's my kids. It's like making sure that I'm doing the right thing. Am I doing the right thing? Am I lining things up? Am I creating systems? Am I setting them up to make the right decisions? Am I all the things?
Well, just remember, there is no right choice. There's no wrong choice. There's only the choice you make,
There's the choices I make, and then one day they're just going to make their own choices.
They will. And there will be some times that you're like, do you have to do that? But that's why you pour love into them and raise them to the best of your ability, so that hopefully they don't act like idiots when they grow up.
I do not want to raise idiots.
No,
that's my goal.
Yes, it's a good goal. What are you most grateful for?
Right now, just being able to breathe, taking that next breath. I am, after that, because you got to fill yourself up with that air first. After that, I would say it would be my family, my husband, my children. I'm most grateful for them.
Last but not least, God to you is?
In everything. I find if we find the God within ourselves and see the God within others, if everyone practiced that, the world would be a more peaceful place. If we found God within ourselves and within everyone that we talk to, everyone that we see, whether it be on the news, on the internet, on the street, saying hi to people, smiling, putting out that thought that I might be talking to God right now. And you are.
Yeah, you are. And when we focus on the God within us, our highest and greatest good, all of a sudden that version of ourselves that just like thinks that we're not good enough and doesn't think we deserve things and all that, she dies. She does.
She goes over there.
She
It's all that
does.
past, it's all the learning, it's all those things. She goes away.
Yes.
Because once you look and see the God within you, not only is everything brighter and more fulfilled within you, you can share that godliness with others and allow yourself. And I think this is what's missing a lot in some of these global conversations that we're having, is seeing the God within each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That needs to happen a little bit more.
Well, amen to that. Pili Yarusi, thank you so much for sharing your heart and your spirit with us, and some financial advice for all of our listeners here on the Lindsay Elmore Show.
Thank you so much for having me. This is amazing. I love talking with you, Lindsay. You are an amazing woman. Thank you so much for being in my life.
Do you have big dreams but are unsure how to put them into action? Brand Strategies Lab is the place to turn your ideas into the nuts and bolts that you need to create, revitalize, or expand your brand. It is an online business training course that helps you decide who you are, what you sell, and who will buy it. It is hosted on a brand new social media platform called Channels. If you love Marco Polo, video chatting with your friends, or Snapchat, then you will absolutely love Channels. I created Brand Strategies Lab following more than 10 years of business coaching, mentorship, reading, and personal growth. Find out more and be the first to access this new training at www.lindsayelmore.com/BSL. That's www.lindsayelmore.com/BSL. All right, you guys, let's talk about becoming an entrepreneur. A lot of people think that there's like this magic switch that you can just flip that is going to make you $1 million, and it's going to make you $1 million for every year for the next 10 years of your life. It's not true. I'm here to tell you. And so becoming an entrepreneur is not easy to do. However, I thought of 5 ways that you can think through a strategic approach to how to become an entrepreneur. Number 1, find a problem that you know how to solve. The first step in starting your own business is not necessarily what you think you would be. It's not raising capital. It's not perfecting a marketing campaign. It's not securing your first big donor. It's about solving problems. No one teaches this better than Donald Miller in building a story brand. Donald Miller maintains that there is only one reason that people agree to buy things. And that is because the thing that they want to buy solves a problem for them. Some people maintain that there are actually 2 reasons. The purchase either moves you towards pleasure or away from pain. But really, when you think through it, they're both the same. It solves a problem for you. So if you think about getting a job promotion and you go out and you buy this amazing bottle of champagne, that moves you towards pleasure, solves a problem for you. You want to celebrate. But then the next morning you wake up and you've got a hangover and you really think that you might want some ibuprofen. Well, that ibuprofen is a purchase that is going to help you move away from pain. It also solves a problem for you, helping you to get rid of your headache. The fact of the matter is, people need to know that there is a void in their life and that your product can fill that void. They need to see a need and trust that the product or service that you offer can fulfill that need. To get you started, what I want you to do is think about all of the problems that you have in your own life. Is there some kind of solution that makes you go, aha? Is there a tangible product or is there a service that can make your life easier? Okay, now you're on your way to starting a really successful company. Before you spend a dime, you need to, number 2, get to know your ideal client. Once you know the problem that you're going to solve and you have a product that will solve it, now it's time to start thinking about who exactly will purchase your product. Who else has the same problem that you have and are looking for a solution? Think of your ideal client and get really down to the nitty-gritty. Think of their age, their gender, where they live, what television programs they watch, what news, what movies, etc. Now, go one step deeper and think really about the philosophical problems that they have. What keeps this person up at night? What concerns do they have about the future? What are the things in their life that they really want to change and why? Next, you're going to have to, number 3, be bold and lead the way. In order to sell to others, you have to firmly establish that you are the right person to buy from. People want to know that they are purchasing from a person or a brand who can deliver the solution to their problems. People who need a house painter want to know that the company that they hire is going to be on time, not make a mess, flawlessly execute the job, and not overcharge or waste resources. That's what you have to do. You have to show up and say, I'm the best house painter you're ever going to find. If that's what you do, you better be bold and lead the way and say it. Here's how you can do that. Think about what makes your brand different than other brands and other people that offer the same good or service. What are some specific skills that you can offer that no one else can? What are the tasks that you love to perform at work that you would never outsource to someone else? What are some of the moments that have changed your life? And how does that impact the way that you want to do business? How can the challenges that you face connect with the way that other people face challenges? What are the tools and techniques that have allowed you to overcome what it is that's holding you back? Next, number 4, create a support network. You have big dreams, you have big ideas, you have these amazing strengths, but you also have some really big weaknesses that are leaving gaping holes in your business. And so you need to recruit people who have different skill sets, people who may face the same problems as you, and they want to be committed to solving it with you. I want you to think through all of the different pieces that you will need to establish a thriving company. If you don't know how to build a website, you better find somebody who can. If you don't know how to write emails, you better find somebody who can. If you don't have any capital, you better find some potential investors. You need to think about your friends, your colleagues, your acquaintances, the person that you met one time 5 years ago who has different skills that you may want to see within your new company. Last but not least, decide if you need money from other people. Some companies need capital to get started, while others do not. When you first start, I want you to take some cues from a book called The Lean Startup, and don't try to be everything to everyone. It's never going to work. Instead, I want you to focus on the bare minimum that you can provide. What is the minimum viable product that you can sell? If you don't need money from others, if you don't need money from others, amazing! Do it on your own. That's the best way to do it. When you can, do it on your own. If you do need money from others, dive deep, and you're going to have to create a very persuasive business plan. Crowdsourcing like GoFundMe can work for some people, but if you're going to go to a bank and ask for a small business loan or head to a venture capitalist, you're gonna have to have proof of concept. So put together a business plan with an executive summary, a description of the company, your market analysis. How is your organization set up, or how would you envision it being set up? You need a sales and marketing strategy, and you need to have what is the funding request that you're asking for, and what are your financial projections. So here's the good news. Most small businesses get started with hustle. They get started with hustle and very, very minimal monetary investment. Chances are you already have a skill set that you would never want to give to someone else. Perhaps you've got a thriving photography business or a multi-level marketing organization, or you just love doing graphic design on the weekends. Self-fund it until the revenue picks up. Again, when you think small, you can do a lot of things that don't cost you anything other than time. The Lindsay Elmore Show is written and produced by me, Lindsay Elmore. Show segments are produced by Sue Procco and Kelsey Lorman. Production design, sound design, and editing is by Jive Media. If you have a question about this or any other episode of the podcast, send us an email to hello@lindsayelmoreshow.com. And hey, since you're still here, take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. And while you're at it, go over and follow us on Instagram @Lindsay Elmore Show. This helps us bring the pod to more people.